A rat has just cooked the most important dish of his life. However, all the chefs abandoned it, and now it has to face the critic who will decide the future of the place it loves. Nonetheless, this man is about to receive a shock. Getting here was not easy, as it seemed like everything was against him. Remy was frustrated because he loved cooking, but his family did not understand him. They limited themselves to stealing garbage, but Remy wanted to create. He has an apathetic attitude precisely because, despite being his family, he feels like he is in a place where he doesn't belong, which causes many arguments with his father. He is surrounded by many people who look physically similar to him, but he feels misunderstood. Even by his brother, he listens to him but doesn't understand him, and often being different goes hand in hand with a lot of loneliness. This makes me reflect as follows. Fitting in doesn't mean you're in the right place. Fitting in doesn't mean belonging. Belonging is being part of something without betraying your essence. The question would be, do we belong where we are? Being different is reflected in his body language. He is the only one who walks on two legs. He is the only who understands humans and is the only one who knows how to read. In fact, he really likes to go into this lady's kitchen to watch the show. From their idol, Chef Cousteau has a phrase that greatly inspires Remy, which says, anyone can cook. However, the chef's restaurant a few years ago received harsh criticism from Anton Ego, which caused the place to lose stars and rankings. Subsequently, the chef passed away. However, the life of this frustrated chef is about to change radically as the entire nest is discovered by the owner of the house. She tries to exterminate them, so the rodents have to flee. They get onto the boats while everything is in chaos. But poor Remy is left behind. He tries to paddle with all his might, but the current is so strong that he ends up being tossed around by the water and dragged into the sewers. Now he is alone, hungry, and doesn't know if he will ever see his family again. Hunger makes him hallucinate with Chef Cousteau from the book, who tells him, if you focus on what you left behind, you will never be able to see what lies ahead. Now get up and take a look. So Remy decides to climb up to see what's there. He walks behind the walls, avoiding traps and dogs, until finally, after running a lot, he climbs onto a rooftop only to realize that all this time he was in Paris. And this happens to us many times. A better place is closer than we think. A better job, more friends, a healthy relationship. You just have to get up and move forward. He sees that Cousteau's restaurant is right next to him and is going to turn around. In the place is also Linguini, a clumsy and shy boy who has no idea about cooking. They need someone to clean the place, so they hire the boy. However, Remy observes how, for some reason, Linguini starts adding extra ingredients to the soup. Remy is totally outraged. We can see that he is truly passionate about that, as no normal person would get so angry over a simple soup. It's not just the soup, and Remy falls from the heights into the sink. Now he has to run for his life. If he is discovered, they will kill him. When he finally gets to safety, he sees an open window. However, an assistant closes it. But seconds later, Linguini tastes the soup he just created and discovers that it's terrible. So he opens the window again just to vomit. Now, Remy runs to escape, but when he is about to leave, he smells the soup. It's so bad that he almost vomits, and for rats, it's biologically impossible to do it. He feels the need to fix it, so he adds some extra ingredients. After fixing it a bit, he prepares to escape, but realizes this is the opportunity he has been waiting for all his life, the opportunity to really cook. He lowers the heat a bit, washes his hands, and adds one ingredient after another. He had never had the chance to do it seriously, but today the day finally arrived. However, Linguini discovers him, and as Skinner is coming for the soup, the boy hides the rat. The chef starts yelling at the boy as a simple janitor cannot cook, but while he is scolding him, they serve a bowl of soup and the waiter takes it to the dining room where a critic is waiting. Skinner explodes in anger and tries to fire Linguini. However, the waiter comes in and says that the critic loved the soup so much that she wants to congratulate the chef. Remy, upon hearing all of this, pays more attention. The chef tastes it and likes it, but still insists on firing him, until Colette confronts him and says that if he fires him, he would be breaking Cousteau's most sacred belief: anyone can cook. This fills Remy with validation. It does not matter that he did not receive credit for the soup. What matters is that someone recognized his work. This phrase changes Skinner's mind, who tells him that if he wants to continue working, he will have to repeat the soup. At that moment, Remy is discovered. Linguini catches him and is told to kill him. The boy leaves the place, takes his bicycle, and pedals to a bridge. He is about to finish off Remy, but when they look into each other's eyes, he takes pity on him, and he lets him go. The young man is very frustrated because he really needs that job, and now they want him to recreate a soup he has no idea how to make. While the boy speaks, Remy nods his head. The young man cannot understand the rat, but it seems that the rat does understand the boy. Linguini asks him to please help him. Remy agrees, and when he lets him out, he flees into the darkness. However, he feels a pang of remorse. Becoming aware, he returns with the boy. Then this one takes him to a small apartment. It's not much, but it has what is necessary, especially a lovely view towards the Eiffel Tower. The next day, Linguini gets ready to recreate the soup. He puts Remy in his clothes and enters the kitchen very determined. The problem is that he has no way to communicate. The rodent just walks all over his body, making Linguini squirm from the tickling. To correct him, it bites him, but this causes a lot of pain. After making a fool of himself for a while, he goes into the warehouse where he realizes that his body is very injured. They need a better solution. While the two argue in the warehouse, Skinner hears something suspicious from outside. He suddenly enters and manages to see the rat. Linguini turns off the light, and when he turns it back on, there's nothing there. The chef is sure he saw something. However, Linguini pretends to be clueless and leaves. This chef is a very greedy person and will end up doing terrible things to poor Remy. As he walks, a waiter crosses his path. Remy pulls the boy's hair and he automatically dodges it. They are both surprised, and Linguini enters the bathroom, and there he realizes that Remy can make the young man involuntarily move his shoulders, arms, and hands. With just a look, they both knew that they had the same crazy idea. That same night, they start to practice. If they want to achieve their goal, they have to learn to work together. At first, both their movements are clumsy and things aren't going well, but later their coordination becomes more precise. The fact that these two cannot understand each other verbally reinforces the message that they are from completely different worlds. Linguini feels like he's part of the humans and Remy part of the rats, although he has never really felt part of them. They manage to recreate the soup and Skinner gives the boy a spot in the kitchen. The little chef is also happy for him. To learn more, the young man will be trained by Colette. This woman is very tough and demanding as she has had to fight hard and for a long time to get to where she is. Haute cuisine has always been a male-dominated industry, so it hasn't been easy for this girl to rise. The two end up falling in love, but things between them will not be easy. This woman is key in both of their careers. She teaches them to save time by cutting and chopping quickly, to keep their work area clean, to work in a way, and to differentiate a good bread. Linguini learns this, but Remy also pays a lot of attention. He tells that everyone who works there has different stories and origins, all united by a love for cooking. Skinner doesn't see it so romantically, he only thinks about the money. He doesn't tell anyone, but his plan is to use the name of the deceased Gusteau to sell fast food. In this way, he is distorting his entire reputation and legacy. A piece of news puts all his plans at risk. In a letter, he reads that Linguini is Gusteau's son and therefore heir to all his brands and restaurants. To clear any doubts, the lawyer takes a hair from Gusteau's hat and goes to analyze it. However, Skinner gradually realizes that the boy is hiding something, so he will try to cut his career short. One night, the diners ask for something different. The waiter informs the chef, and he sees an opportunity to ruin his reputation. They have nothing new, so he decides to remake an old dish. However, it was so bad that they decided to discontinue it. He tells Linguini to prepare it. Thus, when the diners hate it, he will blame the young man, ruining his reputation. At first, Colette says to stick to the original recipe, but since Remy knows it will be a complete failure, he decides to alter it. This causes Remy and Colette to start having an argument, which manifests through Linguini's body, and instead of helping each other, they hinder one another. As the dish is about to be served, the girl leaves because she forgot something. And Remy takes advantage, blocks Colette's way, and drenches the dish with the sauce he just improvised. The chefs thought it would be a failure, but surprisingly, everyone liked it, and now they can't stop ordering it. Remy cooks delightedly, and the dishes keep coming out. In the end, the night was a success, and Linguini makes a toast with all his colleagues. Skinner notices a suspicious silhouette in the boy's hat. Linguini steps aside for a moment to give the little chef his reward. He congratulates him, thanks him, and leaves him something to eat. When he returns, Skinner takes off the hat but finds nothing. However, it's only a matter of time before he discovers everything. He's so eager to know what he's hiding that he even gets him drunk to extract information, but Linguini evades the questions and then leaves Skinner intrigued. While Remy was enjoying her dinner, he sees something emerge from the shadows. At first, he gets scared, but then discovers it's her brother. Both become very happy since they thought they would never see each other again, and his brother asks him to visit their family. At first, Remy resists, but he ends up agreeing. This reunion will be very important for the little chef's psychology. His father throws him a big celebration. However, Remy looks quite uncomfortable. Despite being one of them, he feels like he doesn't belong to that world. That's why he is practically the only rodent that constantly walks on two legs. Metaphorically, its body language, different from the rest, is a reflection of its mind. His father and his entire family hate humans, while Remy is fascinated by them, as he says that the rats steal and they create. Remy confesses that he will not return to the nest because he met, and he lived with humans and realized they're not so bad. As Remy speaks, his father becomes increasingly furious, so he decides to show him something. They leave the sewer and Remy sees something horrible, a pest control shop displaying beings of his own species. His father believes his son finally understood the lesson, but he refuses to return to the nest. His father says, "That's the way things are. You can't change nature." To which Remy answers, "Natural is change." Finally, Remy decides to leave his family behind, to leave behind the world he feels he does not belong to. However, Remy is about to realize that the world he loves is not as beautiful as he thought. Linguini falls in love with Colette. At first, it seems like a good thing because the boy looks happier. However, he becomes a very distracted person, and worse still, he starts listening more to Colette's advice. That Remy's, even though this one is a much better cook. This reaches its limit when, while being with the girl, Linguini drops Chef Cito from his hat, and for the first time in a long time, he is exposed to humans who do everything to end his life. When he gets to safety, he sees his reflection and remembers that at the end of the day, he is still a rat. Now Remy feels trapped in a limbo. He doesn't feel part of the people he was born with, but he also can't be part of the world he loves as his life is at risk. A rat trying to cook represents a huge contrast since there's nothing more opposite than a kitchen and rats or mice. No human wants these animals in their kitchen, so achieving their dreams seems almost impossible. Despite this, Remy continues doing what he loves. However, things take an unexpected turn when the rodent reads Gusteau's will and realizes that Linguini is the son of this renowned chef. Skinner finds out and then chases him through the city. However, his efforts are useless because Remy gives the letter to Linguini and finally Skinner is fired and the boy inherits the restaurant. Things start to get better in their lives and Colette and Linguini fall more and more in love. The problem is that something very terrible is happening. The ego is about to enter their lives literally and metaphorically. The boy's restaurant became so popular that now he is practically a celebrity, and with popularity led to arrogance and ego. The young man believes he no longer needs Remy to succeed and claims all the achievements and growth for himself. That is ego. Remy gets angry with Linguini because he is not given the credit he deserves. He wants all the recognition, even though Colette also helped and taught him. That is ego. And finally, we have Anton himself. Anton Ego, the same critic who years ago, with a bad review, took a star away from Gusteau's restaurant. He believes he is the ultimate authority in the culinary world, thinks his word is law, and is furious at the idea that the same restaurant he once destroyed is becoming popular again. That is ego. That is why it is no coincidence that this character enters at this point in the film, because end it all. He threatens that he will come to dinner the next day and leaves the place. The press conference ends, but now Remy and Linguini are furious. When they enter the kitchen, they start arguing. This fight escalates so much that Linguini throws Remy out onto the street. He is tired of not getting recognition he longs for and of staying in the shadows, so he decides to seek revenge. Acting with a troubled mind often meets terrible consequences. Sometimes it's better to let some time pass to act with a calm mind. As Owen Watts said, muddy water is best cleared by leaving it alone. To get revenge on Linguini, Remy brings his entire family into the restaurant to steal food from the storeroom. However, while they were stealing, Linguini arrives and apologizes. The boy is extremely remorseful for his attitude, and just when he was being sincere with the little chef, he discovers all the rats stealing. They run away and the boy becomes furious. His trust has been betrayed and he tells Remy to leave and never come back. Let's remember that Ego is going to dine the next day and Linguini cannot cook alone. He needs Remy. The big day arrives and Linguini gives the worst motivational speech in history. Ego is in the restaurant and intimidates the waiter. He says to him, "What would you like to order?" To which Ego responds, "What Linguini dares to serve me." He is determined and ready to give the restaurant a bad review and ruin its reputation again like he did years ago. The kitchen is in chaos. There's no one really in charge since Linguini without Remy cannot do anything. Everyone is asking him things and wanting him to act, but he feels so much pressure and stress that he has a panic attack and gets angry. Remy sees all this from outside, however. His brother arrives and makes a great mistake. He falls into a mousetrap, but Remy saves him, though now he is the one trapped. Skinner set the trap because he wants to kidnap him so that he will now work for him. Ego is waiting for his food, Linguini is unable to do it alone, and Remy is trapped. It seems that all is lost. In his solitude, he imagines he talks to Gusteau and tells him, "I'm tired of pretending. I pretend to be a rat for my father, and I pretend to be a human. Why do I need to pretend if I know who I am?" At that moment, his father and his brother rescue him and give him a hug. Remy runs back to the restaurant. They ask him, "Why do you care so much?" To which the little chef responds, "Because I'm a chef." He always knew it. It's just that now he has found the courage to acknowledge it. He arrives at the restaurant and for the first time shows himself as he is to everyone. The workers are horrified. However, just when they are about to get rid of him, Linguini stops them. For the first time, he admits that he has no talent and explains that the rat was behind everything. However, no one believes him and the team leaves the restaurant, including Colette. When Remy is about to throw in the towel, his father, who saw everything, appears. He finally understood how much this means to his son, so he calls the whole mess and then they get to work. Remy directs everyone and together they start getting the kitchen up and running. Linguini sees that someone is needed to serve, so he starts attending to the tables. On the other hand, as Colette was driving back, she came across a book by the chef from Gusteau which said anyone can cook. This made her reconsider, and thanks to this, she decides to return to help. Linguini happily welcomes her and thanks her for trusting. Remy shows the girl that he wants to cook a dish called Ratatouille for Ego. This is a dish considered humble or a peasant dish, as the ingredients are cheap and do not require no special preparation of any kind. This is very symbolic since despite the fact that Remy is an exceptional chef, Ego is a very demanding critic, and the restaurant an expensive, ostentatious, and prestigious place, the little chef decided to make something very simple but with much love and passion. Now he works with Colette, coordinated and in harmony, which contrasts greatly with the scenes we saw at the beginning, where they almost fought while cooking. Once the dish is finished, Linguini picks it up. Food has always symbolized love. Since we were little, our parents gave us food to nourish us and keep us alive when we couldn't fend for ourselves. It is a way to look after and care for those you love. That's why a simple plate of food can have such a strong emotional charge. When he returns to the present, he drops his pen, his main weapon. That weapon which gave him power over the work of others, symbolizing a surrender and dropping his ego. Even his facial expression changes. He stops being that serious food critic to simply enjoy an excellent dish. But that night, this man was not the only one to leave arrogance behind. Remy also left his ego when he agreed to help Linguini again and return to the restaurant. And Linguini left his ego when he admitted that he was not the real chef and that he could not do things alone. They left arrogance behind and realized that Linguini is nobody. Nothing without Remy, and Remy would never have achieved anything without Linguini. Linguini could lie and skip the explanation about the rats in the kitchen and how his actions are controlled by Remy. But he is already tired of pretending. Just as Remy is tired of pretending to be a human through Linguini, Linguini is tired of pretending to be a great chef thanks to Remy. He decides that it's time to stop hiding the truth and give Remy the recognition. When all the diners leave the restaurant, the critic appears. At first, he thinks they are playing a joke on him, but when everything is explained to him, his smile disappears. The man only thanks them for the meal and leaves to write his review. On the other hand, Colette says goodbye to him. However, now Remy has to make a decision. Go with Linguini or go back to his family. But Remy chooses a third option and decides to go his own way. Linguini gave him the recognition he so longed for, and his father accepted who he really is, so now he doesn't have to hide or conceal. Now he feels free to be and do. The next day he reads Ego's review in the newspaper, where he set aside pretensions and accepted that night the deepest foundations of his world were shaken, and he finally understood that not everyone can become a great artist, but that a great artist can come from anywhere. Yes, it's true. Any common dish has more sense than the critique that condemns it. It's hard to imagine a more humble origin than that of the genius who now cooks at Gusteau's, who, in my opinion, is the best chef in all of France. With this, Eagle makes it clear to us that much of him changed like this. Not everyone can become a great artist, but a great artist can come from anywhere. This statement resonates with the philosophy of existentialism, which focuses on the individual and their ability to define themselves through their own actions. Your context and your past constitute you. The world is hard on the new, and the new always needs friends. And finally, Eagle reinforces one of the central ideas of the film, that we should not be limited by the expectations and prejudices of others, but should follow our passion and seek excellence in what we truly love, no matter. If you made it this far, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Your support means a lot to me. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, I invite you to do so right now.